One of the things I'm curious about from a public point of view, and you know, we run a jail docket every day.
Yes.
Is people call and say, well, I can't get a job because it's out there. My thing's been expunged, but I need to see proof that they have that, you know, because people will tell you anything. How long does the stuff stay up on the clerk of the circuit court? Is it permanent, or does things get sort of washed away at a certain point?
Well, it depends on what it is. Believe it or not, traffic tickets have the longest life. They stay on your record for only 75 years. So if you can outlive your first speeding ticket, you can have a clean record. There are other things that eventually fall off the clerk's record based upon the amount of time and the seriousness. There are a lot of records from the mid-90s that we can no longer go back and achieve. Once it's digital, all of those records will be there forever because there won't be any need to purge in order to make warehouse space.
But as you know, as a judge and a lawyer, with all your experience, that you're presumed innocent, and an arrest is an arrest.
Correct.
It doesn't mean you did it, or that, you know, you're convicted.
Oh, absolutely.
So, is there a measuring stick in terms of how long it stays up there? I mean, I know with us sometimes it's like, do I really need to carry this for the sake of, you know, having an extra file in my system? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that if someone has been arrested and acquitted, either by a jury or because the state attorney's office did not feel that there was enough evidence that they could go forward, that I think that record should come off the system fairly rapidly, perhaps after as little as 3 years.
How about a withhold?
A withhold is an official court record, and I don't think that should come off. The Florida legislature decides these things, and they have decided that a withhold can no longer be expunged or erased. Only acquittals and bills of new information.
In terms of equipment, you are going in the right direction of having things online. And there's been a lot of debate, even though Florida's open with the records, about the idea of people in their pajamas looking up their neighbors. How do you feel about that?
People in their pajamas going online?
You know, going online and looking up the lurid details about someone beating somebody up or some kind of soap opera thing.
Well, the justice system operates best when all records are open to the public. Because what we're always fearful of is somebody receiving either preferential treatment, or as someone said, a carjacking where the man spent 20 minutes in jail. I don't know of anyone that only received 20 minutes for anything. And the public perception that the justice center system does not work properly can be countered by keeping all of the public records open. And if I'm elected, all of the clerk's public records will be available online. Now what's interesting is I mentioned that the clerk had trouble meeting the July 1st e-porthole requirements. And
what requirements?
Well, by July 1st, each of the 67 counties had to be able to hook up to the state's e-portal.
What's electronic?
Electronic. All right. There were 21 counties that were so deficient that the legislature had to approve additional funding for the Florida Court Administration to assist them in making the deadline.
Is that incompetence or lack of money, or both?
I don't see it as a lack of funding. Each of the state's 67 counties receive a budget from the state legislature, and each of them have to work within the same parameters. For instance, they don't fund Dade at 100% of their wishes and dreams, and Volusia at 15%. Each of them receive approximately the same percentage of what they say that they require. I believe it's lack of leadership. You know, as early or as late as March, Volusia County couldn't even give an idea as to when it would be ready. Now, they did limp in under the deadline, but because they limped in and they weren't fully ready to go, now if you request a file, a criminal file at the clerk's office, you cannot see it unless you're the attorney of record. They're denying it to the general public, and the explanation is that they did not install redaction software to guarantee that addresses and social security numbers would not be involved.
You led me right into my next question for you, which is, you know, every year the legislature is lobbied to take out more and more of the public record. What kind of a challenge does that present when you have to go back and redact old records that they're on, we can access them, and so they have to all be pretty much cleaned up?
Well, from a programming standpoint, it's really not all that difficult. Social Security numbers are 324 number series. So you just program the computer to look for number series of 324 and redact it from the public record and put it into another electronic file behind that, that if somebody actually needs to see it, it can be done. From a programming standpoint and my experience programming computers, it's really not that difficult. Of course you have an enormous amount of volume, but as computers get quicker and as we move into 100% electronic filing, all of that redaction can be done at the second of filing and we won't have a backlog.
Of those 23 counties that you cited, 21 counties you cited as being in bad shape, where does Volusia County rank in terms of volume?
In terms of volume, we are about the 9th or 10th county, yes. But if you look, our sister county, and you wouldn't expect this to be our sister county, which is Osceola. You'd be hard-pressed to name a big city in Osceola County, but they have just about the same amount of population. They have the same amount of court cases, both criminal and civil. They have almost within $10,000 the same amount of criminal fines to collect. Osceola made the deadline. Osceola collects a higher percentage of fines and costs and civil penalties and everything else. So when you go one-to-one and you look at our twin, we are gravely deficient.
Well, the whole issue with George Zimmerman, the Trayvon Martin case, I know it's a soap opera, but...
No, that's okay.
But different circuits put different levels of information on their websites. What kind of a challenge would that be as a clerk of the court to meet the demands of a high-profile case where they're looking for every snippet that comes out?
Well, it really isn't a challenge whatsoever. And let me refer you to commercial websites. How many people use Amazon at a given time? Or how many people go on AOL or MSN or any of the other? We're talking 1 million users at a time. The clerk received $1,347,000 from the legislature last year to buy computers. 1,300,000. I mean, think of, in this day and age, how much computer power that buys. Where you have, an Apple tablet for less than $500 that does what a mainframe did 5 years ago, you're talking an enormous amount of computer power. There is no reason in the world why the clerk's website could not handle a George Zimmerman style inquiry.
In different counties, my experience has been that, like for example in Orange County, Casey Anthony. I think from day one that everything was up there. And I checked out different circuits to see how and it just didn't have a rhyme or reason. Is it because of maybe poor leadership, or it's just maybe the media interest isn't there and it comes down at the last second?
No, it's absolutely poor leadership and experience. Okay, as an attorney, I know what I would want to see on the website because I have to prepare cases. I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defender. I know exactly what I want. Somebody that is in the clerk's office for 32 years knows exactly what they want to do with that day, and that is as little as possible. And I think it's a matter of making sure that everything that can possibly be up there and is legally up there is up there. For instance, what's the harm by putting all of the discovery on the website as opposed to the possibility of lawsuits for withholding information?
Yeah,
it's a risk reward.
Right.
And if you're generating lawsuits or you're generating requests to produce, then you're doing something wrong.
Doesn't it also mean more efficiency too? You have the people running to the courthouse demanding all these files, and it makes a lot of chaos, right?
Well, yes, if you've ever been there on a Monday morning, oh my goodness, you'll wish you were at the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Many times.
Because there's a huge line. The clerks, for some reason, have been told that they can only give limited information. The clerks are actually charged with assisting people with filings and forms and paying fines. And our clerk has chosen to button down her employees such that they will not give you any direction. I think that with the new online system that I propose, you're going to cut down on a lot of visits to the courthouse because you'll be able to perform all clerk functions from your home in your pajamas, if you wish.
Yeah, thank you. And one quick question before I ask the audience if they have any questions. This whole thing with accountability. And
Yes.
From a legal point of view, is there a cost savings with your background as a judge and an attorney in terms of making sure the legal aspects of the operation are going well? Because lawyers can be expensive, as you know.
Right. Well, the clerk presently has a lawyer on staff. $77,000 expended last year. In addition, had $20,000 in outside legal costs. I can get rid of those from day one. I don't need outside legal counsel. I don't need somebody to tell me what a statute says. I have an awful lot of experience in reading the statutes. I know what it means to have compliance with state laws. For instance, the clerk has a beautiful new website. It has 4 very nice pictures of the courthouse, but it doesn't comply with state law. There is not a single accommodation for the blind on that website, which is Florida Statute 508, which opens Volusia County up to a lawsuit under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Well, I guess you just broadcast it to
Well,
people tomorrow.
And there isn't a single word of Spanish on that website, depriving the 30,000 Spanish speakers in Volusia County access to the courts. So if you just follow the laws, you can cut down on a lot of legal expense.
Any questions in the audience, briefly? I guess you pretty much covered it. Let's do what I call, you had an opening statement, and they got this court theme going, and you gave a very good presentation. Convince the jury, the public, why you should replace an incumbent who, despite your criticism, has put in her time. I mean, why should we pick you over her?
Well, I do not think that the criteria for public office is the ability to put in time. I think that if you have the trust of the people, you owe it to them to be a very active and dynamic and faithful servant. And that's what I'm going to be. Ask anyone what my role was as a judge. I was on almost every single committee. I ran one of the most efficient and effective courtrooms in Volusia County. We had the highest amount of collections in the county, and we had the lowest violations of probation because I explained to each person in front of me what I expected of them and that I was invested in their success. And that's the way I'm going to be at the clerk's office. I'm going to be 100% vested in the success of the employees and the organization, and I can do a far better job for the citizens of Volusia County.
Very well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.